It would be recalled that recently the Nigeria Police, purportedly acting under Section 127 of the Police Act and Regulations, dismissed an unmarried policewoman, an indigene of Ekiti State, from the services of the Nigeria Police Force on the grounds of getting pregnant before marriage. In the wake of Ekiti State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Olawale Fawehinm, instituting a civil suit against the Inspector General of Police, seeking an order of court declaring Section 127 of the Police Act and Regulations, which provides for the discharge from the police force women police officers who become pregnant while unmarried, unconstitutional. We'll be looking at workplace acts of discrimination. And joining us from the United States is YEMI Fawehinmi to shed more light on the issues. Good to have you, YEMI.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay.
Morning. How are you? Good morning.
Yeah, good to have you. We'll dive straight in. Help us, for the sake of those who are unclear about the issues, help us highlight what is it about this case that qualifies it for a discrimination case.
Okay, without becoming subjudice, what actually happened in this particular case, and it's just typical of many other cases in Nigeria, is the fact that this lady, who is a staff of the Nigerian police, who is also from Ekiti State, became pregnant while on duty or while still an employee of the Nigerian police, and based on one of the laws about the police, calls it something that is worthy of being sacked or being dismissed over. That is what happens in a nutshell. One of those very evidence of violence and discrimination against women, and generally against people that are considered not the dominant in Nigerian society. So that's what happened in this case. This lady was found to be pregnant. She's also unmarried, and by the act, the authorities of the police decided to ask her to be sacked. Clearly discrimination. The reason why it's discrimination is that there's a discrimination convention Nigeria signed into that defines that discrimination is precluding people because of either their action or their sex or their age or their color or their tribe. So this lady has been put in a situation in which she is pregnant, and then you discriminate against her because you took an action that was particularly targeted at people that are pregnant and not at everyone. Remember, the Nigerian Constitution also guarantees every Nigerian a right not to be discriminated against. While the Nigerian Constitution did not speak against being discriminated based on the basis of pregnancy, it says you cannot be discriminated based on your sex. And it is only women that get pregnant, at least naturally. So this is a clear discrimination which is against the laws, and which is also expected conventions of the ILO.
Okay, go ahead.
I would have been worried if anyone else got pregnant any other ways. But let me ask you, and not to put you on the spot, but does this not fall back to Human Resources Department and individuals who fail to act? And add to that, what really would constitute a work discriminatory event or discrimination? What is work discrimination really? What would constitute that? And how prevalent is that in the Nigerian workspace?
Okay, so work discrimination is any action, activity that precludes or puts anyone at a disadvantage as a result of essentially natural reasons. So, for example, as a result of age, as a result of the sex, as a result of ethnic background, as a result of some physical conditions. So when you discriminate, when you take actions against somebody's promotion, when you sack someone, when you make the workplace hostile just because of those factors, that becomes discrimination. It's also important for me to balance it because sometimes that is what is allowed in HR practice, what is called a bona fide disqualification, in the sense that you could discriminate against people in the workplace because it's a bona fide qualification. So, for example, if I wanted to hire someone to become the headmistress the boarding house mistress of a girls' school. So I have a girls' school and I want to hire someone to be the house mistress. I can discriminate and say I only want a woman to take on that role because that is what is called a bona fide qualification. So you need a woman to play that role. So I could say, for example, I want only somebody that has 20/20 vision, that a medical test, to be a pilot because it's a bona fide qualification for that role. But I can't say that somebody must be 24 years. And that's one of the things that is very prevalent in Nigeria. A bank wants to hire someone as a teller, and they said the person must be 24 years. What has age got to do with counting money? My son, who is a teenager, can count money. So if the role does not require that qualification, it becomes discrimination. So, for example, you hear Nigerians will put an advert that says, wanted somebody to come work in this company, and they say the person should not be more than 24 years, should not be more than 26 years. It's that a requirement for that role. So even in the media industry, you get to see that many media organizations employ people because they have a particular asset, and refuse to employ some people because they don't have some assets, right? That is a discrimination, because the role does not necessarily require an asset to succeed. And don't also forget, where the person lacks that capacity, it's also the obligation of the Nigerian employer, based on the Industrial Training Fund Act, to train him to become that.
Yemi, let me come in there, Yemi, because I don't see how it's my place to train you when you're coming to be employed by me. I think it's your place to train yourself because you know what the company needs. And so you should be able to present yourself knowing that this is what they need. But are we not running?
You know what you just said is your view. I quoted a law, right? That makes it a responsibility of an employer to train.
That's when you're employed.
To do the job.
That's when you're already employed.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Oh, good, fine. Now talking about when you're how do you put it now?
Yourself forward.
Applying for the job. I'm not even talking about when you're already employed, but that's not even where I'm going to. Are we not running ahead of ourselves, really? Because you have a police act, and the lady in question does know this act before she got into that organization, that you cannot or not allowed to engage in so and so within this so and so period. So it's like she shot herself in the leg, ab initio.
It's interesting. You said the policeman shot herself in the leg. Which
no, I mean the lady.
Who's the policewoman?
I'm just trying to say. So the Police Act is a secondary legislation compared to the Nigerian Constitution. The Nigerian Constitution says you can't discriminate against someone, and that's final. So the Police Act cannot do anything that discriminates against an individual based on their sex. Remember, even though there is what they call in law what is void, what is voidable, and what is void ab initio. Even though the Police Act says something that is against the Constitution, it's already void. It only takes somebody to commit that act and then go to court to prove to us what makes it void. So in this particular case, and this is not the first time women. So if we actually read the old Police Act and the new one, there are quite a number of policies and statements and guidance against women. Let me give you an instance. In the old act, for example, says that a woman who is a policewoman cannot get married except she gets the permission of the Commissioner of Police. So if Mary wants to marry Joseph and Mary is a policewoman, she will need to apply to the Commissioner of Police to approve her getting married, one, and getting married to Joseph. Now, that may be a fair provision, but if Abraham wants to marry Sarah, who is a man, or Abraham is a guy, he doesn't need the approval of the police commissioner. That's now what makes it discrimination. So if the police says everybody who wants to get married must get the approval of the commissioner of police, it's a different thing. But in this case, it only says a policewoman needs the approval of the commissioner of police to get married. And in a particular case that was done in a couple of years that this was taken to court, and the policewoman won in this case. Actually, it was pursued by Mrs. Fumi Falano, who got judgment for all policewomen that they don't need the approval of the commissioner of police to get married because it was discriminating. Let me give you another instance. Before now in Nigeria, if a woman wanted a passport, an international passport, to be able to travel as a document, she needs the approval of her husband to be able to apply for a passport. But if a man wants to apply for a passport, he doesn't need the approval of his wife. And so Mrs. Elijah Maji took the case to court and said, this is discrimination because you are asking me to get the approval of my husband to get a passport, but my husband does not need my approval to get a passport. So you are
Yemi, I want to cut in at this point. I'm really thoroughly enjoying what you're saying. But I want to also find out, I'm seeking some clarification. It would seem when we're going to workplace acts of discrimination that we don't yet have any law to do with sexual harassment in the workplace in Nigeria. Am I correct? And then if that's correct, what kind of a consequence does that lacuna, what kind of a consequence does it provide for us as a nation?
It's like one of the things about Nigeria is that Nigeria has too many laws. Our problem is that, like they say in our polars, over law is worrying us. Nigeria has laws on virtually everything. You may be surprised that we even have laws that describe how you should cough in public. Now, so Nigeria has a law that guarantees an employer's duty of care. At the basis of it is a duty of care. The employer has a duty of care to his employee. So whether it's that the employee cannot be harassed, cannot be injured, cannot be insulted, cannot be harassed at work, that duty of care is guaranteed. At the same time, don't forget Nigerian laws also have laws that criminalizes actions like battery, like assault and all of that. So we have all those laws in place. Now, we're not only talking about laws, we're also talking about decided cases. We had a case a couple of years back in Lagos Industrial Court, the Lagos office of it, where a lady was harassed by the boss. And the lady went to court and she got judgment. I remember that she was actually paid not a lot of money, millions for the acts of discrimination. So not only do we have laws, we also have decided cases. So any woman or anybody who gets harassed in the workplace, because it seems that we talk about sexual harassment only from the point of women being harassed. Many people get harassed in the workplace. It could be sexual, it could be verbal, it could be by any means. You hear bosses that, for example, tell their staff, and you said you went to school. That's harassment. Or like, if you don't get this done, I'm going to get out of here. Well, or use language that you don't get to.
Unfortunately, we have
show
to
up in court and win.
So it's not the lack of laws, it's the enforcement of the existing laws. Thank you so much, YEMI Fawehinm, for being on Newsday. Much appreciated.